Well, hello and welcome back. This is the second video in a series on the business partner for the defaults section. We're dealing exclusively with defaults. The first one was on terms and conditions. This one's terms and conditions. This one will be on markups, and then materials, and then hardware, and then letters, and then the cabinet specifications. So again, we're on the second one, the markups. So we're going to go to defaults, and our default markups here. And then we see the list of the different markups, and your markups can be structured in any way you see fit. We typically have kind of looked at the client type to describe our markups, but you could have as many of these as you want, and they could be as variable as you want. In this case, we see that we have typical builder markups, multi-payment terms, typical builder markups, net terms, typical individual markups, multi-payment terms. So for my company, True 32 Custom Cabinetry of Middle Tennessee, we only offer multi-payment terms to individuals for remodels and individuals that have us build cabinets for them. For builders, we have some that have multi-payment terms and some that have net terms. Those that have either proven that they're not trustworthy to pay us on net terms are on multi-payment terms, or just those that don't do a whole lot of work with us, just a job from time to time, or that don't want to have net terms. And most of those are going to be on a 50, 40, 10 payment plan. And then the typical build-up with net terms, the majority of our builders that are on net terms are very trustworthy people, and they're on a 5% 10-day net terms, so they get a 5% discount if they pay us 10 days from delivery, and we do base that payment on delivery, not on installation. And we'll talk about that in a later video. On this video, we'll just look at the most common terms for us, which is the multi-payments for builders. And that would be pretty similar to the typical individual markups for multi-payment terms. And on these terms, again, you can name this. This is just typed text. To create a new one, you would just come here to duplicate, and that would create a new set of terms, and then you could edit whatever about those terms you wanted to change. In this case, for a typical builder who we do work for, he's going to pay an 8% sales commission markup, and that's marked up off of materials and labor subtotals. So whatever the material costs are and whatever the labor costs are, we add 8% to that for a sales commission, 5% for a design engineer fee, 19% for overhead, and a 32% profit markup. Now this 32% profit markup is, since it's a multi-payment term, we can't really use a multiplier of any sorts and mark that up for a discount, and we're not offering a discount. So, but we want to make the same amount of money off of these builders as we do off of our builders that do take a 5% discount. So here we've got a 32% markup on our builders that have net terms. They typically have a 25% markup, but from there we use a reciprocal and mark the job up an additional amount that would cover that 5% discount we're offering them. So we actually build that into the cost of the cabinetry. And then here we have our tax rate. And then this is how the tax is dealt with. And different states deal with taxes in different ways, and even in the state of Tennessee we have multiple methodologies. Some cabinet makers have to get a sales and use tax number, and then they supply the certificate to each of their vendors, and they do not pay sales tax on their materials. And then when they sell the cabinetry to homeowners, they have to charge the homeowners sales tax on the materials. And where that gets a little bit difficult for some is that you have to charge for the materials that were purchased, not used. So what goes in the dumpster is also taxable. So any material that is wasted is also taxable. So you can't really get that number from your design software or your optimizing software, because again that's not accounting for the waste factor. So that can be difficult, but we've given you the methodologies here, and basically what we're saying here is, in this first area here is show sales tax on reports, yes or no. You can have the sales tax will be accounted for either way, but in one it'll show a line item and it'll have the sales tax listed, and then if you say no, it just builds it into each of the room's costs, and it doesn't have a line item that reflects the sales tax on any of the or as a line item on the estimates or proposals. Sales tax on materials, yes with markups, no. And again, different states do those different ways. In our case, in Tennessee and for my company, I do have to charge sales tax on the materials. So I'm basically allowing the business partner to recapture what I'm paying. I'm paying the material sales tax on the materials, and then I do not charge the client for the sales tax, but I do have to pay sales tax on the materials. And we don't pay sales tax or charge sales tax on labor. So here you see that shop installation labor, or the shop labor, installation labor, delivery labor, we're not charging sales tax on those. So that's how those markups work. At the job level, if you go into a job, and we'll go back to our sample job, Chapman Lot 110, when we enter into this job, anytime we create a new job, those default markups are copied into the job, and you see them here. In this case, this job was 8% sales commission, 5% design and engineer fee, 19% overhead markup, and a 25% profit markup. And in this particular case, this is one of our regular builders who does work with us on a continuing basis, so we don't show a design fee. We charge everyone a design fee. And that's the 5% fee there, but we don't show it as an independent line item on the estimates and proposals, asking that they prepay that before we actually do the design. And that's one of the options you can use with that. So that's the gist of the markups and how those work. And again, they're marked up from your material and labor total. So if we look at this job, if we go into a room, let's say, and look at the let's say the kitchen, and do a quick cost on this particular room. We're going to see here that the material and labor total, we'll be able to see the structure of this, how this is charged. Again, here we see our intermediary screen that's basically asking us to confirm that any of these items may have changed. In this case, they have not. Okay, and here we have our job cost breakdown. So here we see the materials, subtotal cost, cost with markup, sales tax, cost with markup and sales tax, and then the total cost. So there's the materials, here's the shop labor, here's the installation labor, and here's the room subtotal. And from there is when you're this is the number that the actual markups are added to. Here we're calculating the delivery cost, miles to the job, 18, you know, round trip, 2 trips at 18 miles, the trip quantity 1, and then a total delivery charge of $371.85. And that's how that's the number that the markups are added to. The actual markups themselves are editable to some extent. So let's look at let's say on maybe a hardware item. Let's say that we are an accessory. Let's say we didn't want to mark up the Zargan rollout trays the same amount that we mark up everything else. When I click on the gold button for a specific item, I see my markups here, 8, 5, 19, and 25. And for that particular item, if I don't want to charge a sales commission on it, and I just put in a 0 there, and that does turn it to red, so you can say that's been overridden, and the cost changes and it's reflected in that. So if we said we didn't want to charge a design fee of 5%, we put in a 0. You see the current cost is $126.25 over here. Once we enter that 0, then now it goes down to $122.20. We've removed the markup of design and engineer fee, and you can change. You could make one of these higher. If for this particular job you needed a 25% overhead markup, then it would override the 19 and make it 25 and raise the cost of the job. So this is at the item level, but typically you don't mess with the markups on item levels. You're just doing them at the job level, which is here on this first page, and they're copied from the defaults. So the defaults are copied into the job. Then you have the option, if on this job you want this to be 0.07 instead of 0.08, then that will, next time you bring in a job for Chapman Construction, because the markups are specific to Chapman Construction, then they'll come back at 0.08, but this job would be at 0.07 or 7%. So I hope that answers some questions for everyone, and I hope that's helpful. And we'll look forward to seeing you on the next one. Again, this was the second in a series on the defaults, first being terms and condition, this one being markups. The next one will be materials, and then hardware, letters, and cabinet specifications. So I look forward to seeing you on the next tape, and have a good day. Bye.